Hey everyone, Steve here again from RC Tanks and Trucks 24/7. And what am I going to do with all these lovely paints and dirt and brushes and white glue? Let's find out. Okay, now I have done a video on this before, but I've had requests to do another one. This video is a bit better quality and yeah, technique's going to be the same. But what all this is for is, this is my technique to achieve realistic mud, especially for military vehicles like this Tiger one here, Hang Long. It's pretty standard. Obviously you can see the wheels are just basic primer, or looks like a primer grey colour here, not much realism. I get some people saying, why bother putting or making them look muddy when you just run them outside and you know, naturally get dirt on there and mud. Hey, you can, that's your technique, that's cool, but eventually it'll come off. If you put it inside, store it anywhere, drive it on the inside of the house, mud's going to fly out everywhere. So I prefer to have something that looks like really muddy, looks wet, and main thing, it looks realistic. So I'll show you what to do. Okay, so all the ingredients we need for this are pretty basic, quite cheap, and can be found around the house. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone's got some of this fine dirt laying around somewhere. If not, buy a little bag of potting mix or steal it from someone else's garden. Hobby glue, white hobby glue that dries clear. That's the main thing. And some pigments. You don't need to use these, but it's up to you guys. I have some pigments here, so I've got Vallejo Natural Umber, Vallejo Burnt, sorry, let me get that in focus, Burnt Umber. I've got another one here, another Burnt Umber here, which obviously that's the most popular, which I use. And the great thing about it is mud or dirt is a mixture of all different shades, textures, and all that kind of stuff. So I got just basic red, brown, a bit of dark yellow, tan, rust, and of course some black. Now, like I said, this is all up to you. You can choose whatever colour you like. It's your tank, your hobby. You do whatever looks good to your eyes. Okay guys, now this is the fun part. So we get our soil, and for example for this 1/16 scale, you don't really need to filter it or, you know, make it finer, because it looks pretty realistic and the size of the grains looks quite scale. If you're doing 1/35 scale, you might want to put it through a sieve or some type of strainer, but just don't tell the wife or make sure it doesn't find out, just to make it a little bit finer. But basically, nothing really scientific. Grab a bunch of the dirt, get your white glue, you know, just apply it, and it just comes with figuring out what's best. There's no right or wrong, just put some in there and give it a good mix with like a kebab stick, like I have here. Mix it around until you get into like a gloop, runny enough that you can kind of use a brush to dab it on and stuff like that. So put a little bit more in there. This is just the first stage. So get your glue, and the great thing about this glue, it doesn't set completely hard. So it's great for using it for RC vehicles, because you can hit into it, it doesn't break, it's not really brittle, it's got a bit of flex, so it's quite forgiving. So start stirring that around until you get it to the consistency of where you can actually apply some to like a paintbrush without it just sticking to the actual, you know, the kebab stick. But now what you can do, this is the fun part. You can make any colour you want. So I'm going to use some of this rust. Pour it in there. Give it a bit of a mix. And dirt is dirt, so it's just a mixture of all different colours. I think what makes dirt look realistic when you're modelling it is all the different kind of textures and different colours in there to make it, you know, look as realistic as possible. So there's that. As you can see, it's looking a bit red, but that's cool. Let me see if I can focus on that. Look at that, looks great. So now I can also add some tan. that's any in there. I don't think there is. That's cool. Dry. But what about some burnt umber? That always looks nice. That's a bit more on the brown side. See? Now when you just mix all these in, it just kind of looks more realistic. So just get the color you want, and you can also, if you're having a smaller model, you don't want to actually have any or use dirt, you can use these pigments, which obviously are much finer and probably be more realistic or more to scale for smaller vehicles, 1/35, etc. So get it to how you want, and we'll move to the next stage. Okay guys, now this is probably the most fun part of the process. Grab yourself a couple of crappy brushes, like as you can see I've used this one before, or anything you have running around, whatever, because this part there's no real accuracy with perfect color balance or shading or all that. This is pretty much just gonna grab your stuff here and just go to town and dab it wherever you like. It's up to you, whatever makes you happy and whatever you think looks realistic, that is the main thing. But honestly, with this result here, you can get some really accurate looking, more realistic looking mud results. And you just dab it where you think you want to see mud. You can get some reference material as well if you want. But the great thing about this, and not paint for example, is the texture. As you can see, it's all bumpy and ripply, and there's all different bumps and some smoother than others. That is what sets it off, in my opinion, compared to general painting. So obviously the mud's going to build up under here. Just, you know, common sense, it's going to build up in there. But you're not really going to see it after the, you know, once the track's back on. So if you want to just concentrate on the road wheels, that's going to obviously be the, if it gets stuck in some big trench or something like that and it's trying to get out, they're pretty much all going to be smothered anyway. It's all going to be spinning, and yeah. So as in my other videos, I've showed you how to paint and weather the plastic tracks. Now once this is all done, it's a match made in heaven. It's gonna look really realistic, and look how nice and chunky that goes on. Obviously that might be a bit overkill, but the good thing about it is grab it, dab it around, and that's all you need to do. You know, it doesn't matter if it gets on the tyres or, sorry about the camera, if it moves around a bit. Look at that. Like you might think, oh, it just covers all the detail, but you look at some of the tanks in some of the photos, and the wheels are completely covered. They're not going for some concourse museum standard looking, you know, tanks. It's war, so this stuff happens. And when you're applying this, you don't want to kind of drag it on like this. That'll look unrealistic. Kind of dab it on here and there. Just be random, you know. It's been applied randomly, just going through the mud, so just make it look random. And some of this, yes, will come off during regular driving, but hey, this is so cheap to make. Yeah, next to nothing, and it's, in my opinion, one of the fun parts of, you know, modelling, or, you know, making them look more realistic. As you can see there, you don't need to get all the way under here. You might just smother it on a little bit just so the colour gets underneath, but there we go. Hey, look at that texture. As you can see, plain, normal painted, that's kind of just sparingly put on, and then that's probably the kind of consistency I want. I'm going to have a couple like this every now and then. And now what really makes this even more realistic is, say you get your pigments. I can get my layer here. If I get a separate little brush, if I just dip my brush in here, get some of the pigment, and I can just dab it on there, and instantly it's going to change the look of it, because there's another texture now. There's a different kind of tone in there, see? So once that dries, and you can just dab it on there like that as well. As long as it just sticks, once that dries, it's not going anywhere. But look how chunky that looks. And forgot to mention, when this dries, it looks kind of wet. So it doesn't just look dry, it kind of actually looks wet. So it kind of looks really realistic. So I'll continue on this, Guys, you can use this on any tank, any era, doesn't make a difference, mud's mud. But yeah, the same, just when you're applying it, just make sure you spin the wheels so don't miss any pieces in between. For example, this Tiger one in between the front and back wheels. So I'll continue this and show you how it looks. Guys, forgot to mention, what you can also do to add even more realism is you just get your brush, put it in the dirt and just kind of dab it, and what that will do, obviously gives a different texture, but it will also imitate actual dry mud that's stuck to the wet mud, so different, different layers. Because in my opinion, what makes something look really realistic in this hobby is layers. Different layers and all that kind of stuff make a big difference. So obviously it's got the fenders here, so the mud would flick up slightly, but you can just do whatever you want. It all comes with experimentation, and as long as you're having fun and just you think it looks great, then that's all that matters. But okay, I'll finish this up and I'll show you how it looks. The mud's going to get onto the side and it's going to get at the front of the tank too. So if the lighting's a bit crappy, but yep, so just same as the front. You don't need to go all the way down. You just dab where you think it's going to look cool. And you can always muck around with it later. This isn't the be all and end all, but hey, just put what you want on, how high you think it's going to get up. It might get stuck in a ditch. Imitating getting stuck in a ditch, head, nose first, and it's going to get chocked full of mud. But anything will look better than standard colour that it comes with. So I'll finish this bit and I'll take the other track off and I will show you the grand finale. But this is just one of the many steps I'll show you moving forward in how to just dramatically increase the basic hang long or any tank's realism or looks just by doing some of these simple tips and tricks and techniques. Looking good. So look at that. If I show you this side, what do you think guys looks better? That or spin it around with this 5 minute modeling technique. Look at that, you can really see the different textures and how awesome it looks. See that? Doesn't that look great? Awesome. Okay guys, just finished, and as you can tell, it looks so much more better than the standard. And see what I mean? This looks wet, but actually is dry. So the benefit of this technique, look at that, see the glitter, the actual sheen against it, that's actually wet. Look, but it's actually dry. And it's very resilient. And this has only been done, maybe half an hour ago. There's the other side there. Beautiful, isn't it? I think it looks extremely realistic, and if I could pick it up on the side, let me see, there we go. So as you can see, how great does that look? I think it looks absolutely fantastic, and the great thing about it, it's extremely resilient. Show you the back as well. So I've just obviously just splattered mud every now and then where I think I see fit underneath the tank, where it's flung up from the back of the track, so it's got no rear guards on this, and the front is very similar. I just think it looks pretty cool, much better than stock. So let me know in the comments what you guys think. Like I said, I've done this technique before in a previous video. This was a while ago, so at least I've redone it in full HD for your viewing pleasure. Hope you guys like it. As you said, as long as you have fun with this, you can do whatever you like. As long as you think it looks cool, and that's the main thing, and you're having fun. So, thanks guys. Steve here again from RC Tanks and Trucks. Please subscribe for many more videos coming up in the future. I've got a few more things to do to this tank to make it look much more realistic, but just with this simple mod, very cheap, easy to do, and fun, it looks so much more better. So, thanks guys. Catch you around. See you later.